doing it on purpose. Okay, we're at 5. We're going live here. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, go, and we're live. We're going to take AI, we're going to mix it with things that are separate, and we're going to see what happens. It's not going to be a random walk. It's going to go back to the other things we've talked about on Retraice already, namely intelligence itself. One time we're going to mix AI with itself, which is to say mixing AI with something that's not separate. But all the other things, I got a list here. They're going to be separate until we mix them, until we achieve a mixture or a solution. Is it a mixture or is it a solution? Depends on, we'll see how things go. Intelligence, omniscience, the hypotheses, China, sex. Not all at the same time. All the world models, the good model, and I.J. Good's paradox. This is Retrace, segment number 51, November 15th, 2022, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. It's also 4 a.m. in London, 12 noon in Beijing, and 3 p.m. in Sydney. Shout out to all of you. Okay, so the general, yesterday we talked about maybe like a three-dimensional way of looking at AI or answering the question, what about AI? Wait, what about AI though? And we talked about trying to answer the question again, what is AI? Of course, we didn't come up with a good answer. No, I take that back. Our answer was excellent. It's the most honest answer you're going to find. It is the most, I'm wrestling with an animal and it's getting the best of me and I don't know what's going on and it's dark and I don't know what animal I'm dealing with and I don't know how big it is and I don't even know if I'm going to live through this sort of answer. That is the sort of answer that we gave you to the question, what is AI again? We've been trying and looking for others who have tried to answer that question for, going on years now, believe it or not, this podcast, but only in 50 segments. Today, whatever we think AI is, and remember, we're staying loose. We're not going to freak out because we don't have some sort of technical or specific or even natural language definition of artificial intelligence. And if you insist on that, then go, shoo. Take your insisting elsewhere, okay? We're trying to deal with this in the realness, in the world in which it exists. And it is amorphous. It is a hyperobject. It is probably an interlaced, complex web of tangled string and spit hyperobjects, set of hyperobjects. So let's mix it with some stuff, see what happens. And we're going to do it for better and for worse. It's so tempting when we go through, the first thing on the list is strategic intelligence. Oh, I should say this now. Yesterday, we talked about AI at parties, like literally at like a shindig, a get together. Shindig. I totally missed the obviousness of where it already was there. I totally missed it. Young people, pretty much anybody born after like 1990, right, have grown up with cell phones, smartphones especially, natively in their world. Now, I haven't been to a young person party since that change in the universe. But I've heard that what they do is often through the phone, often unnecessarily through the phone, are things like talking to your friends, flirting, courting, all that stuff. You're doing it through the phone, often unnecessarily. Yeah, you've got the old school people who just rock up and, hey, how's it going? But there's so much opportunity to use the phone, use your social media presence, use the internet to better present yourself, and also to test the waters, to avoid bad experiences. Well, if you channel your interactions through a phone, you're channeling them through something that is at least heavily influenced and filtered and organized by AI. So the AI is already at the party. So long as people are with their thumbs like this on the magic rectangle that we all love, I'm not criticizing the rectangle. I got no beef with the rectangle. I love my rectangle. I love every rectangle that I get. But so long as we're with the thumbs AI can be involved. There's AI between you and me right now, right? Like there's some hardware, there's some software, but really it's, are you listening are you listening to the podcast, and how did you find out about it? Search engine or YouTube, right? There's like lots of Google AI between us. We also post things on Facebook. They've got a healthy AI program, et cetera, et cetera. But even if you're just messaging with someone else, and there's opportunity for AI to be involved in that, influencing it. Okay, anyway, I made note of that in the notes for Re50, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit because can't believe I missed it. Let's make some mixtures. All right, I'm going to go through intelligence, omniscience, the hypotheses, and then basically the models. That's it. And again, I did it again. It sounds like it's going to be boring and laborious, but it's not. Actually, I don't know. I haven't done it yet. This is live. But I don't think it's going to be. But I have no plan here. Not much of one. I have a list, not a plan. A list is not a plan. Enough. Strategic intelligence. This is the first thing we talked about on this show. 3 kinds of intelligence: natural, artificial, and strategic. Strategic intelligence was the first focus, the first few segments of Retraice. Then we moved on to artificial intelligence and then natural intelligence. Go back and check them out. I think they're good. I do. They're not perfect, but you don't need perfect. It's a podcast. It's more important that you find out about who might be meddling in your life in the case of strategic intelligence, or threatening to kill you in the case of natural intelligence, or meddling in your life in the case of artificial intelligence, or threatening to kill you in the case of artificial intelligence. See, all kinds of things. Strategic intelligence. How does AI mix with strategic intelligence? Look, they vacuum up data. It used to be they had like a, don't ask me to quote, you can find this. This is like James Bamford stuff. You know, the old New York Times reporters who wrote books about the NSA. They had AT&T had a room where all the phone lines were connected to NSA hardware that, they could tap everything. They started vacuuming up stuff. But it wasn't scalable before computers. I might be mixing up my history a little bit there, but basically what I said is the gist of kind of, there was a time when the intelligence agencies, the strategic intelligence entities in the world had to do things like literally connect to the copper and amplify the signal on a wire. I mean, before the wires, it was, it was all chit-chat. It was, I don't have it in front of me, but The Secret World by, oh gosh, I put things away. I swear, the most surefire way to make sure that I need a book is to put it away in the closet, because that's exactly when I start going looking for. What was his name? I forget the guy's name. Anyway, there was a whole time before electricity dominated strategic intelligence. Now we can talk about a whole time before AI and computing dominated strategic intelligence. But now they do. They vacuum up everything, and then it's a matter of searching and finding what you're looking for. Different problem. AI helps with that. AI helps a lot with that. Combing through and making sense of giant quantities of data is a specialty of what we call today artificial intelligence. Natural intelligence. How does artificial intelligence mix with natural intelligence? Well, going back to the phone, I mean, we're pretty close to this thing being plugged into our brains. Not technologically. Like, Neuralink is a thing. Kevin Warwick has been plugging things into his body for 15 years. It's coming, right? This direct hardware connection between our nervous system and I was going to say the machines. It sounds ominous. I'm neutral on the good or bad of the machines. But it's coming. But we're not there yet technologically. But you don't have to be. Your thumbs are plenty. We have opposable thumbs. Not to mention, I mean, if you're using a QWERTY keyboard, you got 10 digits, right? I mean, hopefully you have 10 digits. This stuff is, Marshall McLuhan talks about it. I quoted it in a recent segment, his thing on, and I'm not going to read it here, but it's the passage where Marshall McLuhan in The Media is the Message talks about humans as, maybe thinking of humans as sort of the sex organs of the machines, because the way we interact with them and the way that we make the creation of new machines and improved, evolved, and better machines possible. We're sort of like, bees and flowers and that sort of thing. But the passage leading up to that is just as important. And anyway, okay, so we're constantly in a feedback loop with our technology, and you can categorize basically any artifact as technology. Go back to the abacus. Go back to the first stone tools. Those arrowheads, those sharp rocks. They changed us. Nobody wanted to go back to bludgeoning with fists or hitting people with soft sticks of wood when someone figured out that you could connect a rock to the end of that stick, or you could hold a hand. It was a hand axe. I think the hand axe was maybe the first stone tool. Somebody correct me, some archaeologist. That changes the game. It changes us, how we think about things. You cannot go back to being a pre-tool human, a pre-artifact human. Just go try and start a fire in your backyard. Just go try and do it. Use the YouTube video. Use anything except artifacts that were ordered on Amazon, or just only do it with stuff that you make, that you get from the woods or the desert or the jungle or the savannah, wherever you live, whatever nature you live closest to. Just go do it. See if you can go back. You can. I've done this. I've started fires from. No, I have tried to start fires from nothing. Really tried, and just don't get in that situation. Do not get in that situation. The nice thing is there's so much. We've changed the world so much that even if the power went out right now, EMP attack or solar mass ejection, whatever it's called, there's so much burnable, flammable stuff everywhere that you're still never going to have to go into the woods with your bare hands and cast away, style, start a fire. Things are changed. We're not going back. Okay, so that's how AI might be mixed with natural intelligence. Is it? Did I even talk much about that? Well, yeah, like the artifacts, the interfaces are not necessarily hardware. They're still our fingers, but AI is mixing with us all the time. I mean, look, I'm talking about it for the 90th hour on this podcast. It's changed me. It's changed the way I think about things. It's changed the way I see things. I read these, like the standard textbooks on AI. I have them here. They really have changed the way I think about the world. There are some pretty handy models of how to think about the world in these books. Really handy. Like, cut through all the BS. It's not as complicated. It's as complicated as it seems, but it's not as intractable as it seems if you benefit from what's been learned by doing AI and what's been learned by working on AI, or what's been passed down to us from the people who have worked on AI. That might have been two ways of saying the same thing. I'm not sure. How is artificial intelligence mixed with itself? Well, I have emotions, and I was feeling strong emotions today when I worked on this particular item. I had not heard of alpha. Is it called alpha code? It's the DeepMind alpha code. Yeah, alpha code. I had not heard of alpha code. And reading the paper, the preprint that probably was identical to the final one on Archive, and from February of this year, it's causing feelings. Not good ones. I mean, like 10% good, 10%, oh, this is awesome. Like, we're going to be able to deploy artificial intelligence-based systems to write good code to solve hard problems so that we don't have to. That's 10%. The other 90% is different. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. Can't go into it. Suffice it to say, artificial intelligence is interacting with itself. And that was almost certainly inevitable, at least insofar as it's gone so far. But where that's going and how fast is, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel feelings about this. Moving on. At Retraice, we have a list of hypotheses, 1 through 12. And hypotheses 1 through 11 are supposed to be wrapped up into hypothesis number 12. These are hypotheses about what's going on out there. Retraice, as a company, as a podcast, is about, I was going to say is supposed to be about. No, it is about. It's not, we're not trying and failing. It's a hard thing to try to wrestle with and come to terms with and speak intelligently to what's going on out there. Nobody else is doing it. Other people do it in their own sort of narrow way, but there are these constraints and these horse blinders and these reins on these animals and these roads that they stay on with ditches on either side. Retraice is trying to have none of those things. No roads, no ditches, no reins, no blinders. It's not easy. But anyway, these hypotheses are a list of sort of English language, imprecise. Yes, a real scientifically minded person is going to say, these aren't very good hypotheses. Shush. Okay. Again, you're the same guy who keeps talking about the definition of AI. Now you want to talk about how crappy our hypotheses are. You're crappy. Okay. These are good. These are a good attempt. Unless we're going to collapse into specialism, collapse into technical speak, start pretending like we needed to say something with mathematics. Most things that are said with mathematics do not need to be said with mathematics. This is signaling. This is elephant in the brain sort of stuff that they're doing. So says I. You might disagree. I think people say things with mathematics because they can, and because they know that most of us aren't going to bother to dig into it or might not even be capable of comprehending it, even if we did want to bother. But that's the wrong reason to use math. Absolutely the wrong reason. And it's the reason, it's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons that our hypotheses are in English and they're imprecise. Although we did work on, in the world model, making especially H12 more hard science and technically tractable, specifically talking about threat modeling, natural selection, game theory, Turing machines, and cybernetics. Right? You want me to talk in those terms all the time? You want me to say, well, if you think about it from the threat model perspective, or natural selection, or really, Darwin's universal acid test, or game theory, or Turing machines, or cybernetics, this, and this. This would be an impenetrable and annoying podcast. We don't want it to be impenetrable. I can't help it if it's annoying. I hope it's not. But you never know if you're annoying. Nobody comes out as, hey, you. Everything that you do is annoying. It's just who you are. You need to accept that. No one will ever tell you that. So, I don't think I'm annoying. And if I'm not annoying, then the podcast is not annoying because it's just black and white. There's nothing else. Unless this mic is annoying. It's not to me. 11 hypotheses that roll up into the 12th one. I'm going to give you the single noun or noun phrase for the 11 hypotheses. I'm not going to go into all this because it'll go on forever. Space, technology, death, China, civil war, environments, betterment, intelligence, darkness, wealth, wild cards are the 11. And it's not controversial stuff. It's like, the space one is humans are not technologically capable of living in space. Whoa, dude, how did he figure that out? No, I know it's not supposed to be controversial. It's supposed to be a real answer to the question of what's going on out there. And then to cause inquiry, serious inquiry, so that we don't get led astray by our just impulses or whatever else can lead us astray. They're all like that. They're all that sort of, I don't think there's anything in here in the 11. Okay, but then there's H12, the short version of H, and they all have short versions and long versions. The short version of H12 computers is, and this is the one that's meant to roll up all the other ones, because the other ones all seem to be connected to this one. Some humans now control others better, i.e. better than they used to. But machinery could take control. And the long version of that, I'm not going to read. I've read it too many times, and I haven't really given it its due. How does AI mix with that? How does AI mix with human control of other humans. I mean, that's the second book that Norbert Wiener? Is it Norbert, right? How can I not know this? You forget things, you know? It's on my shelf, but it's too far away. I can't. And anyway. The human use of human beings. Is his first name Norbert? Survey says I have a... Yes, Norbert. Okay, so he tried to... like, cybernetics was the math heavy version of his control theory, insights. Human use of human beings was the more lay version of it that someone asked him to write, if I recall correctly. Write it so that people can understand it, damn it, Norbert. You're such a wiener. How is AI interacting with that? Human control of other humans. Well, it's all over. I mean, how do these humans know other humans better than they know themselves? AI itself. Could the machines take control? Yeah, we don't really understand what control. We don't understand what motivation is. The machines already might have sufficient motivation to overcome any sort of resistance should we choose to put up resistance. Did I skip omniscience? I think I did. Well, good. Because we can jump back to it right now. Perfectly. Almost too perfectly. And I should say also, strategic intelligence gets better with... I didn't talk about any of the better. I always lean toward I'm of a fretful temperament. Nick Bostrom's phrase. I worry more than I'm not Ray Kurzweil, and I'm not Steven Pinker, but I want to be. I want to be them. Because it's not fun being doom and gloom. Strategic intelligence is better if your strategic intelligence entity uses AI to do its job better. It's official job, not some nefarious thing you don't know about. Let's assume it's doing its official job. And also, if all the other agencies are there are no mistakes and misunderstandings, let's say. That's one way that AI can make strategic intelligence better. How can it make natural intelligence better? A million ways. Okay, I talked about them already. At the party. Just at the party, there are 65 different ways that artificial intelligence could improve things. Come on, how many bad parties have you been to? You don't think AI could help with any of that? Of course it could. How could artificial intelligence improve itself? I already talked about the 10%. Great, now we don't have to write this program where you have to take the string, slice it and dice it, and then only use the backspace and then produce this other string, and then you got to do it optimized, and you got to do it in C because we need it to go fast, etc. There's lots of good things that AI can do in the three kinds of intelligence. In the three domains of omniscience, physical, animate, and mental. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but go back to... I don't remember which Retraice it was. Just omniscience in three domains. I don't remember which one it was. Popular, that one. Gets a lot of views and downloads. They probably think it's some religious thing or something. I don't know why people go to it. Physical omniscience, knowing everything that's going on in the physical world. Animate omniscience, knowing everything that's going on with the, let's say, biological world, the living world. I mean, if you don't think that machines are alive, then that would exclude machines, but let's include both of them, the loose definition of biological world. And then mental omniscience, knowing not just what the things are doing from an outside perspective, but the thoughts. I had a thought the other day that I was walking around a mall, believe it or not, and I had the thought that, people are on their phones, and generally, older people look down on people. Look at how they're all in their phones, and they're not doing anything. They're in their phone. But I'm in my phone all the time too. What matters is not what you see with photons. You see photons, bouncing off of me, and you see me just doing this. What matters is electrons, and really not even electrons. The electrochemical signaling in the brain, but it's electrical. It's based on electricity first and foremost. It's not based on light. You're not seeing the more important thing. Well, yeah, I'm on my phone, but what am I reading? What am I thinking? What am I dreaming? What am I dreading? Photons are becoming less important, at least to humans, in the medium term, than electrons. Okay, so mental omniscience. Artificial intelligence can help with that. Yeah, if it can read your mind, if it can know you better than you know yourself, and then tell some person, hey, this person is... It's just so easy to think of all the bad things that could come of that. But honestly, we want to, if you're like me, you want to have the most crystal clear picture of yourself possible. no matter how hard that might be to see, and I can imagine it being very hard, but let's say in doses, let's say in steps. Let's not just immediately confront people with how ridiculously stupid they are, or annoying, or conceited, or I was going to say stupid again, but I think that proved some point. Okay, moving on. China. Artificial intelligence. We've already talked a lot about that. I don't need to go into China. World Model 5, which is what is happening, what matters amongst what is happening amongst what is. I don't know. This isn't going to work. I made this list. This isn't going to work. So far it's worked, but if I go into these other things, like the 5 different world models, one of them was a throwaway, and the other sort of, et cetera. Let's just say et cetera, okay? You can keep mixing artificial intelligence with things that seem separate and get surprising results. Have I shown that? I mean, I could keep going here, man. I.J. Good's paradox. To survive, we must build machines, but if they're built, we won't survive. How does AI mix with that? I mean, it is based on AI, but could you just convince 10% of the Earth's adult population that is that if you could find a way to get that thought in front of 10% of paying attention people on the planet, it would change the world. Artificial intelligence is probably the only way you could. What am I talking about? It's market forces. Economics is the problem with that. But artificial intelligence can overcome all of that. I mean, how do you optimize a system these days? You don't think hard about it. I mean, yeah, a little bit, but you deploy algorithms of some sort, structured data, clear objectives, clear preferences. AI is better at all that. Can AI help with the good model, RTFM? Right, true, fit, and mixed? Yeah, well, that was the Kissinger and the other two talking about that in the age of AI. How AI is like demonstrating that it can perceive reality in ways that are totally beyond us, and they're revealing things. AI is revealing things to us that we would never be able to detect on our own. That's the true part. It's definitely going to make us more fit if we can use AI to solve all these problems that have been intractable in long term. And the bigger the problem, the more benefit AI is going to provide. I don't know if AI can help us with right. It might be able to help us with morality, but at least it might be able to help us with cooperation and the the economics of compromise and cooperation. Genetics, nanotech, and robotics, global catastrophic risk, blue and red politics, natural, artificial, and strategic intelligence, sources and tests, computer control, threat modeling. I can see, I missed sex. Sex is a good one. I mean, I talked a little bit about Marshall McLuhan with the sex organs and the machines. I don't know. I don't really know how AI, I mean, yeah, I can think of some ways that... That's enough. All right, that's enough. Look, we've mixed AI with a bunch of things that are generally separate. I didn't tell you where I got the sprinklet thing. Kevin Kelly, this book, The Inevitable, said, in the future people are going to look back on our time and say, man, wouldn't it have been great to be an entrepreneur back then? All you had to do is just take some random thing, put some AI on it, and then put it in the cloud and you make money. And I remember that him as saying, take a random thing, sprinkle some AI on it. But the guy who said sprinkle is Jerry Kaplan. He didn't say it in a book. He said it in an interview with Brooke Gladstone on OTM. But I put those two together, sprinkle some AI on it. Sprinkle some AI on it. So anyway, we've taken a first pass at this, so sprinkle some AI. We'll continue to sprinkle some more. Tomorrow we're going to deal with the big questions. There's no end to this sprinkling that we're doing here. But in a sense, it kind of feels like fun and games. And I don't feel like it's fun and games anymore. Honestly, like the stuff I've been thinking about today. Not just today, but man, that alpha code thing. Like flipping through the paper, the preprint. I didn't scour it, but just as someone who's written code, looking at some of the illustrations and imagining that they're using a machine learning, a deep. It was a transformer based, so it's recurrent neural networks, which have like, what do they call it? Perspective, or not perspective? They have attention. So it's like a recurrent neural network with attention as a transformer. Anyway, they're using that to write the code. Man. Okay. We'll talk about big picture tomorrow. All references will be in the PDF notes. Retraice.com, Retraice.com. This has been segment number 51. Next segment, same time tomorrow, 11 p.m., 8 p.m. Pacific. Signing off.